Welcome to the award-winning show, Cool Kids Cook with Kid Chef Eliana. Your host, Eliana, is a 3-time cookbook author and foodie. Listen as Eliana interviews the nation's culinary movers and shakers, explores ingredients from around the world, and shares her tasty recipes. Here's your host, Kid Chef Eliana.
Anna Demare. Check out my review of the book in last week's episode. And to get a chance to win the cookbook, visit my Facebook page or Instagram for all the details. Now, I'm excited to introduce our special guest, Chef Jimmy Lay. Chef Jimmy Lay was born and raised in New Orleans. He has proudly served for over 12 years as a U.S. Army National Guardsman. Chef Jimmy is a member of the American Culinary Federation and is a certified culinarian. In 2013, the chef was selected among his peers as one of the best chefs of Louisiana. Chef Jimmy was classically trained at the Delgado Community College Culinary Apprenticeship Program. He has worked under many great Louisiana chefs, including Lazon Randolph of Brennan's, Matt Murphy of The Irish House, Dominique Maquette of Dominique's on Magazine, and Susan Spicer of Bayona and Mondo. Chef Jimmy has also staged at Chef John Besh's restaurant, Luke, in New Orleans. Previously, the chef was a ProStart teacher in Baton Rouge. He is now the kitchen manager of Hurricane Cafe at Our Lady of Holy Cross College, located in Algiers in New Orleans, Louisiana. In addition to his work as a chef, he loves creating unique preserves from locally sourced fruits. Chef Jimmy, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, and welcome to Cool Kids Cook.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. Now, I attend the New Orleans Center for the Creative Arts in the Culinary Arts program, and I know that some of my classmates were involved in ProStart. So, can you talk to us about what ProStart is and your work with them?
Yes, ProStart is a nationwide 2-year program for high school students, typically during their junior and senior year, to develop their culinary and restaurant management skills. ProStart also helps them to get into the post-secondary education, such as going to culinary school or going to a restaurant tourism school, such as UNO's HRT school. Being a graduate of the ProStart program, you will be able to receive up to 12 college credit hours, the ServSafe sanitation certificate, and a slew of other benefits with being a ProStart graduate, because they will be able to compete in scholarships.
Wow, that's great. I mean, it's an amazing program, and one of my classmates was in ProStart, and she's telling me all about it, and I thought, it's great. I love ProStart. The whole mission and everything that they do is really awesome. So I love that.
I'm sorry. Not only that, they annually, the Louisiana Restaurant Association has a ProStart competition during Mardi Gras season, per se, and then whoever's the state champion, first place in the culinary competition and also the restaurant management competition, will compete in the national competition starting in April time frame. So it's actually pretty good, because they get scholarship money towards a multitude of culinary schools, such as the Culinary Institute of America, Johnson & Wales, Delgado, Arts Institute, Escoffier School, Le Cordon Bleu.
Wow.
So it's actually very, very cool, and it's pretty intense, because a lot of the students, they're there to win. Of course, there's first, second, or third, but first place, you're representing the state. And one time, if I'm not mistaken, one of the schools in Lafayette was a national champion in restaurant management. So they were recognized as a national champion.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So, that sounds like a really cool program, and I love that. And I know one of my classmates, she did the competitions with ProStart, and she thought it was really fun, and she was captain, so that was really great. But I love everything about that. Now, I also understand that you also really love the science behind food. So can you share with our listeners what food science is and what we can learn from it?
Well, food science is a study of basically the physical, biological, and chemical of food. The concepts basically is about processing of food. For example, when you cook a piece of steak, a lot of people would just think, well, I'm just cooking a piece of steak. But a food scientist or a chef that has a deeper knowledge of food science will dissect every single thing. An example would be, what are the components of that steak? So, like, let's say a New York strip, okay? So you will have the fat or the marbling on the meat. You actually have the lean protein. You also have water that is retained in the protein. And then there's natural sugars that's intertwined with the lean meat. Now, what would happen if you actually apply a heat application to it? So now let's talk about the fat. The fat's going to sizzle, but it's also going to provide flavor. The water is going to naturally evaporate. The proteins will coagulate, meaning it's going to tighten up. So the longer you cook it, the more tightening up and dried out the piece of meat is going to be. Now, here's the funny thing. Sugars, the natural sugars that are located in the beef, when you heat is applied to it, is something called caramelization or the Maillard reaction,
right,
which is the browning of meat. So therefore, that's why your meat turns brown when you cook it. Now, of course, the longer you cook it, it's going to turn black. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people in the Midwest actually love their steaks charred, like charred on the outside, and it's like pink, pink, pink in the middle. It's called Pittsburgh style. A lot of steakhouses do that, especially in the Midwest. Very common.
Wow. I mean, it's so cool. I love that, the whole aspect, food science and like the science behind food and all that. I think that is just really cool. Like it's not just, a piece of meat or some vegetables or something that, so much cooler. And it's not like, oh, I'm just, steaming some vegetables or whatever. It's something so much more than that.
Yeah, there's actually more to food science, like, for example, product development. Something that we would probably take for granted, such as boxed macaroni and cheese. Now, when I was growing up, I learned how to cook out of a box because there was something that's called structure. If you can follow directions in a box, then obviously you have what it takes to follow directions, not just in a culinary sense, but in the overall life sense. So let's investigate on the boxed macaroni and cheese. Okay, so obviously there's going to be two things in the package. There's going to be the dry pasta, and then there's going to be the powder. Well, the powder, eventually, if you add something to it, it's going to turn into that creamy sauce that everyone desires. But if you actually read the ingredients, some of the ingredients you probably never heard of, and then you have to look it up and then find out, why is that ingredient in my sauce?
Right.
Right. So one of the examples would be maltodextrin. Okay, maltodextrin is a cornstarch derivative. So basically, it basically makes any type of sauce into a free-flowing powder, and the only way to bring it back to life is applying liquid to it. So that's something that a lot of food chemists or food processors have to deal with as far as food science. There's also another thing that is inside of the package of the dried cheese package, and that's a anti-caking agent.
Right, yes.
So without that anti-caking agent, it's going to clump up. Now, especially being in Louisiana with humidity that's involved, it's going to clump up very quickly. So that's why it has to be in a sealed package with that anti-caking agent.
Yeah,
and there are many types. So that's another example of what food science explains when you get involved with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all around us and all the food. I mean, it's just really cool to hear, all these different things like, oh wow, I didn't know about that. And so I think that's really cool. It's kind of like, I like to look at the like modernist cuisine books, and that's like the science behind food as well, and plants and everything. So things like that.
That's a very good book.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, I got the whole set, all the volumes as a gift, and that was so cool. So, I thought those books are really awesome. But there's so many things, like you were explaining, where science plays, where food is, science. It's just, just like how all the other things that you learn in school are combined, like with cooking. So, there's science, which is definitely important, and there's things like reading, if you're in writing, like when writing a recipe, or this, the history behind food and its origins. There's so many things that come into play, and including math as well, like all the time.
I actually have the Modernist Cuisine at home, the home edition. I actually use the recipes. Now, you will probably notice that they use the recipes and they weigh everything. Because if you understand that if you use something like cup, teaspoons, and whatnot, they all weigh the same. I mean, weigh differently, rather.
Right.
So that's why you notice that they started weighing everything and started using percentages. Because if you want to multiply the recipe, you're going to have to change the recipe as it comes. So it's actually really good to see not just the science side of it, but the mathematics side. And this actually comes back to ProStart as well. So a lot of students, when I taught in high school, they always say, well, what we're going to cook, what we're going to cook. Well, they don't know how to read a recipe, or they don't know how to measure anything. That would be a problem.
Right.
Because if they can't do that, they won't be able to understand the concept. Same thing with the science part. When I ask them, okay, guys, I need you guys to give me the mise en place, or getting everything set up to make a cake. Well, the kids, they never made a cake from scratch. They just go buy a box of cake mix and add whatever, like eggs, oil, and throw it in the oven.
Right. Yeah,
So,
totally.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
So
I understand. Like, you totally have to, really see the whole thing, as a whole. Not, you have to see also, like, the little bits and pieces, that make it come together as one thing. So that's so awesome.
Yeah,
well, get
absolutely.
scientific about your food. We'll be right back. I'm Kid Chef Eliana, and you're listening to Cool Kids Cook. Welcome back to Cool Kids Cook. I'm Kid Chef Eliana. Let's continue our interview with Chef Jimmy Lay. Now, let's find out more about you personally, Chef Jimmy. What's your favorite dish to cook, and what's your favorite dish to eat?
That's a really hard question to ask a chef, but my favorite dish to cook would probably something that takes a long time, because then I have a huge appreciation for it. So something as a soup or sushi or something stewed like a coq au vin, which is a wine-braised chicken. favorite dish to eat would be those items, because then I have a huge respect for those items. I do love fried food because I love texture. So those are some of the things that I would probably love to eat.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, all those things sound so good. I'm just making me hungry just thinking about it. Like, I mean, fried food is good. I mean, I also like to do like baked, kind of get that same texture if I want it maybe like a little healthier. But you can't go wrong with like fried chicken. There's nothing better than just like that crispy skin on the outside.
Absolutely. That's why I love texture.
Oh yeah. Especially when you're making a dish, texture is super important. Like, you really have to balance it out. You can't have everything on your plate be really mushy or super crunchy. You have to have some things, that are really crunchy, and then you have something else that's soft, and mushy-ish if you want it. And, it's kind of play with it. You can't have everything like all the same. So texture is like really important when it comes to like making a meal,
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Now, can you share with our listeners your funniest or most disastrous food memory?
Okay, so a long time ago, my grandfather took me to the Vietnamese farmers market in New Orleans East. He went over there to grab a duck, and he didn't tell me what he was going to do with it. I thought it was going to be a pet. Little did he know, he basically created a dish. Basically, they called it pizza, but it's not. It looks like pizza, but it's not. Basically, what he did was that he coagulated the duck blood and ground the duck meat, and basically served it in a dish, a very shallow dish that made it look like a pizza. He also chopped fresh herbs and a squeeze of lime to kind of brighten it up. He made me try it because he said either you're going to stay hungry or you're going to eat this. So I ate it. It was very interesting. Would I probably eat it again? Probably not. But that was one of the wackiest experiences I've ever had, culinary-wise.
Yeah, especially when, you see the live duck and you think it's going to be your pet, and then it ends up being your dinner.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that I might not want to eat that either, because you saw it like, when it was alive, and then all of a sudden it was on your plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an interesting dish, so, I mean, I might try it. I don't know if I'd like it.
Yeah, well, maybe later in life, I might try it to do it in his honor, because he passed away a couple of years ago. So I, will probably do it again in his honor.
Yes, definitely. Now, let's talk about unusual foods. What's the most unusual food you've ever eaten? Is there a food you would never eat again?
I think one of the most unusual foods that I probably will not try again, when I was in the Army, I was stationed in Kuwait for a little bit, which is in the Middle East, and we went into Iraq, and one of the things that they served me was camel. Now, camel is very common over there. I kind of didn't have a favorite for it. I didn't really favor it. It was very gamey. So, and they did it in the curry to try to mask the flavors of the gaminess, but it was too strong. I probably will never try eating camel again.
Yeah, that sounds a little weird. Camel, I don't know. It doesn't, it doesn't seem like an animal that I would just normally, it's not an animal I would normally eat, and I wouldn't ever really think to cook it or eat it ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those outrageous foods, and yeah, totally understand if you didn't eat it again.
Right.
Yeah, there's always those foods that you try it and you probably won't ever eat it ever again. Now, When you're not busy cooking, what's your favorite pastime?
I actually have a lot. I'm pretty well-rounded, so I love to listen to music. I play two musical instruments, the clarinet and the violin.
Wow.
I recently just became a season ticket holder for the New Orleans Pelicans, so I love to watch sports. Big New Orleans Saints fan, big Pelicans fan, and also I love soccer, actually. Soccer is one of my biggest things. I recently just finished watching the Women's World Cup when the United States earned their third star, and also Chile won Copa America in South America, so that was pretty nice as well.
Nice. So you like to do all kinds of things. You like.
Oh, you have to change it up. It's I don't want to be stuck in the kitchen the rest of my life, so I wanted to do a lot of things actively.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I mean, I guess it'd probably be pretty boring if you were just in the kitchen all the time. I mean, you definitely have to do all, other things. And, have a life outside the kitchen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not a huge sports fan. I mean, I'll watch, like, Saints football games when they come on, like, occasionally, and, like, the Super Bowl, but that's probably about it, and I'm not very athletic. I just, like, maybe ride my bike and yoga or whatever. I mean, nothing like football or soccer. I mean, I just get out of breath too easily. Yeah, so if anyone ever asked me, hey, do you want to play some soccer or football? I'd be like, no thanks, I'll pass. I'll be on the sidelines.
Right.
But I can do the music. I love music. I could listen to it all the time. I constantly have it playing, so I can do that.
Do you actually listen to music while you cook?
I do. I love listening to music while I cook. It makes everything so much more fun. Like, it puts me in a good mood, and it makes it, it's like upbeat music. I just love listening to it, so I think it's really fun. And especially when I'm washing dishes afterwards, then it doesn't make it as boring or as not fun as it already is.
Awesome.
Yes. Now, lastly, here's a wacky off-the-wall food question. If you could cook with anyone in the world, past or present, with whom would you cook and why?
A lot of people have asked me this question in the past when I was going through culinary school, and it took me a while. I just realized that there's way too many people. But if I can really narrow it down, one would be my great-grandfather. He was a cook in the French military. If you remember, Vietnam was temporarily under French control. So there was a lot of French influences in Vietnam, particularly in North Vietnam. So my great-grandfather, I never met him, but I would love to cook alongside with him. The second person is also another person that's deceased, and that is one of the founders of Grand Cuisine or Hawk Cuisine, and that's Auguste Escoffier.
Yes.
Just wanting to be in his presence and learning from him, from the old grandmaster, would be a huge honor. Even though I am classically trained, but sometimes French cuisine can be a little too heavy as far as sauces. And the third person is someone that's actually alive now, and hopefully if you're hearing this, Chef Rene Redzepi from Restaurant Noma in Copenhagen, Denmark. I would love to just hang out with them for just one day. Not just be involved with the kitchen, but just foraging in the forest, or catching your own fish, or
Yeah, I mean, those are
preparing all these very, very elaborate dishes.
Yeah, I mean, those are all
so
really.
Those are the three people.
Yeah, I know. Those are some great people that you've chosen. I mean, they all sound really amazing, and I'm sure if you could cook with them, that would just be so great. Well, thank you so much, Chef Jimmy, for being a guest on Cool Kids Cook. You've shown us that the science behind food makes food fun, and that it's never too early to get a good culinary education. If you want to find out more about Chef Jimmy Lay, visit KidChefEliana.com for all the links. Grab an apron while we take a quick break. I'm Kid Chef Eliana, and you're listening to Cool Kids Cook. Welcome back. I'm Kid Chef Eliana, and it's Cool Kids Cook. It's time for a Tisket, a Tasket, what's inside my basket? Today's secret ingredient is corn. Let's talk about corn. Corn is called maize by most countries, which is derived from the Spanish word maíz. Corn is a cereal crop that is part of the grass family. An ear, or cob of corn, is actually part of the flour, and each individual kernel is a seed. On average, an ear of corn has 800 kernels in 16 rows. With the exception of Antarctica, corn is produced on every continent in the world. And there are over 3,500 different uses for corn products. Here's a recipe for my corn and veggie penne pasta. I actually invented this recipe at one of my French Market summer cooking demos, and it is so good, and I just love how colorful and tasty it is. Ingredients: 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 small onion diced, 2 sweet peppers diced, 3 fresh corn cobs shucked and shaved, 1 pound of green beans cut into 2-inch pieces, 1 Creole tomato diced, salt and pepper to taste, 1 pound of penne pasta cooked, and fresh herbs chopped. I used lots of different ones from my garden, such as basil and oregano and thyme. Directions: in a large pan over medium heat, heat olive oil. Sauté onions and sweet pepper in olive oil. Add corn and green beans. Cook for 5 minutes. Add tomatoes. Salt and pepper to taste. Mix in penne and herbs. Serves 4 to 6. You can find all of these recipes on my website, KidChefEliana.com. If you have a secret ingredient you'd like me to talk about, you can email me at eliana@KidChefEliana.com or call my US toll-free number, 888-721-5915. Leave me your first name, where you're calling from, and your question. Maybe your suggestion will air on a future episode. It's time for Foodie News. I will give you an update on new food trends, cool cooking info, and the occasional strange food story. McDonald's launched its Good Times campaign across England. Billboard ads display stories with emojis. They read like this: drivers are stuck in construction, so that makes them sad, but they go to McDonald's and it makes them happy. But a graffiti artist decided to add an emoji to one of the billboard ads, and he painted a puking emoji face that totally changed the ending of the story. An EDM producer partnered with Pringles to produce music. He used Pringles cans and the Pringles themselves to create beats. After recording the different sounds, he combined them to make some really cool music. And you can even watch the video to see the entire process of the music making. And I thought that was just really cool. It doesn't even sound, anything like a Pringles can or chips. It sounds so cool. Stephen McMenemy makes what he calls combo photos. He combines food photos with regular photos of objects and makes them into one picture. Now, for example, he makes it look like a forklift is carrying a giant meatball with spaghetti. So, in reality, half of the picture is spaghetti and meatballs on a fork, but then the other half is a forklift, so he put them together to make it look like one. Now, it's crazy, but it's really cool. And makes a lot more sense when you actually look at the photos. So you can check out his combo photos on his Instagram and Tumblr. And that's this week's Foodie News. Hey Kid Foodies, I'd love to hear from you. Tweet me, I'm at Chef Eliana. Send me your questions and ideas and we'll connect. I'm also Eliana Cook's fan page on Facebook. On Instagram and Pinterest, I'm Chef Eliana. So, you know where to find me. You're listening to Cool Kids Cook. This is Chef Eliana and it's time for the Cookbook Shelf. In this segment, I'll review the latest cookbooks and share it with you. Today's cookbook is The Gold Cookbook, written by Master Chef Louis P. de Gouy. Now, this cookbook is really cool, and technically this one's not the latest cookbook, it's actually an antique cookbook, and it was given to me as a gift by one of pen pal, Miss Kat. She's so awesome, and she sent it to me as one of the many gifts for my birthday, for my golden birthday, and she sent me all my gifts gold, so this cookbook actually has a gold cover, so it's really cool, and it was actually published in, the first edition was in 1947, so it's really awesome, and it even smells like an old book. I love it. But it's really great because it has, all kinds of different recipes, and like nearly 2,500 recipes for American and European dishes. So it's a really cool. So it's kind of a general cookbook for American homes. So I love that. So it's got all kinds of different bold recipes in here, and he even writes all kinds of things in here, like in the book, talking about like the origin and history of different foods and dishes, and it even has bits of philosophy and poetry about the art of cooking and eating. So it's just a really cool book. And there's things like oyster gumbo, there's some different things like fillets, and there's even things like a guide to purchase and to the purchase and preparation of fish. So there's all kinds of different fish, and tells you all about that. So it has like fish cookery rules. There's scrambled eggs Milanese and all kinds of other ones. It's just really, egg and ham croquettes. That sounds so delicious. I could totally eat that right now. I love that. There's other ones for lamb chops and papillotes, which is a way of cooking the lamb. And, lamb curry with bananas West Indies style, pork souffle, pork and sweet potato pie, buttered ostrich ferns, New England style. There's broiled cucumbers, baked stuffed cucumbers, sprouted soybeans Creole, and everything. There's just all kinds of different things. Parisian fish fumet, and everything that sounds, really complicated to something that's actually kind of simple, like macaroni au gratin. So that's really awesome. There's even cakes and cookies in here. All the different kinds and different, flours, which is actually cool. Like this is talking, like right here it says like the cause and remedy for cakes and cookies. So that's actually really cool. So if something messes up, there's a remedy for it, and you can see what the cause was. So That's actually really cool. I've never seen that in the book before. There's all kinds of different charts in here for like pressure cookery. So this is a really great book. You can check it out, and I don't know if there's like any more around, but I just thought it was really cool and that I should share it. And it's really like, it's a thick book, so it's got tons of recipes. So I should definitely look into them, and you should check it out as well. Now, I also had a cooking demonstration at the French market, and as you know, whenever I do my cooking demonstrations for the Crescent City Farmers Market, I shop the market beforehand and then invent a recipe on the spot. So I shopped the market, and I actually brought some cooked penne pasta to the market, and I thought I could just do a pasta dish or something. I'd come up with something. I just thought, I could just use it as a base. So I brought the pasta cooked, and then I just went into the market. I didn't really know what they had or anything, and I was just like, okay, well, let's see what they have, what, the farmers brought, and I'll just go from there. So they had some corn there that I bought, and it was just really good because I love sweet corn, especially during the summer when it's in season. So I got some of that. I said, oh my gosh, I could totally put that in there, make it the star. Then I looked for other veggies I could put. I saw some beautiful orange and green sweet peppers, so I thought I'd, get those. I love the flavor of that, and I had an onion. And then I also got some tomatoes. I thought they would be great in there. I love to put tomatoes in pasta to really, actually moisten it. Like when you cook it, the tomato lets out some juices, so it helps not have a dry pasta dish. So that was just really great. And then I also had some herbs from home, so I thought that, that would be great in there as well. So I just had all kinds of different things in the market, and I just did a little bit of this. Oh, and I also had some green beans. Forgot about that. I put green beans. I thought, why not? It's not something that you'd normally put in a pasta dish, but I thought that, it would probably work well. And so I just kind of threw it together and just added salt and pepper, and that was it. There was nothing hard about it or something super spectacular with these different spices or anything. It was just simple salt and pepper with the veggies and the pasta. It really let the vegetables stand out and speak for themselves. So I loved, all the different flavors. So, and it came out really, really beautiful. I didn't expect it to have so much color, but it was gorgeous, and it tasted so good. Everyone loved it, and I loved it. People were coming back for thirds and fourths of the dish. And I also had tons of fun with the audience, so that was really great. We joked back and forth, and we just had a great time. So I loved having that cooking demo. Prepare some pasta. We'll be right back. I'm Kid Chef Eliana, and you're listening to Cool Kids Cook. to Cool Kids Cook. I'm Kid Chef Eliana, and it's time for Figure Out This Food. I have a game on my Facebook page called Figure Out This Food. I post a close-up of a food item, and the first 3 guesses get a shout-out here. Congratulations to Sokwon Chow for guessing cooking pears. Let's talk about pears. There are more than 3,000 varieties of pears grown around the world. Pears are native to Asia and Europe. The first pear tree was actually planted in 1620 in Massachusetts Bay Colony. Most pears in the United States are grown on the West Coast. The Chinese consider pears to be a symbol of immortality. Destruction of a pear tree could also symbolize a tragic death. Pears were also used in ancient Greece as a natural remedy against nausea. It's Snacktivity time. Here I give you fun, easy-breezy snack ideas. Today's Snacktivity is lemon basil lemonade. Now this is a great way to use up herbs, especially when you have an abundance. Ingredients: 1 cup of simple syrup, 6 cups of water, 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and a handful of lemon basil. Directions: in a large pitcher, add water, simple syrup, lemon juice, and lemon basil. Mix thoroughly. Serve cold. And if you even want a more lemon basil-y flavor, you could even infuse the simple syrup with the lemon basil by just adding the lemon basil right into the simple syrup and then strain the simple syrup. And then just add the lemon basil simple syrup into there, and just you can add more lemon basil if you want. And optional, you can even let it sit in the refrigerator overnight to just allow the herbs to infuse the lemonade. Hey young chefs, this is Kid Chef Eliana. It's time for Creative Cuisine. This is a recipe for bananas Foster Lumpia with caramel sauce. Now this delicious recipe is courtesy of Chef Jimmy Lay. Ingredients for lumpia: 4 bananas peeled and cut in half, 8 lumpia spring roll wrappers, and oil to fry. Ingredients for sauce: 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, 2 tablespoons of banana extract, and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Ingredients for assembly: 12 scoops of vanilla ice cream. Directions for lumpia: preheat oil to 325 degrees. Wrap the cut bananas into the wrapper as if you are rolling a burrito. Fry until crispy, about 3 to 5 minutes. Directions for sauce: boil the milk in its can for 1 hour. Remove the can from the boiling water. Remove the caramel and slowly stir in the extract and cinnamon. Set aside. If possible, place into a squeeze bottle. Keep the bottle in a warm water so the caramel doesn't harden. Directions to assemble: place 3 scoops of ice cream in a triangular formation. Cut the fried spring rolls at an angle to expose the creamy banana filling. Place the spring rolls on the side of the scoops of ice cream. Drizzle the caramel with the help of the squeeze bottle. Now this sounds so delicious, and I love this because I love lumpia, and I also love dessert lumpia, and I even make one called turon, which is similar to this with banana and jackfruit. So this actually sounds so good. I totally want to make this. It's time for kitchen crafts. Here's a fun kitchen-related craft. Today's kitchen craft is how to make a wine cork sailboat. Supplies: 3 wine corks, 2 rubber bands, toothpick, cardstock, and scissors. Instructions: Step 1. Wrap 3 wine corks with 2 rubber bands. Step 2. Insert a toothpick into the middle of the center cork to form the mast. Step 3. Cut cardstock into a triangle that's an appropriate size for a sail. Now poke the toothpick through the cardstock. Step 4. Make a few sailboats with friends and race them in a pond or lake. The instructions, along with photos, are on my website for this week's episode on KidChefEliana.com. Don't forget to connect with me on Twitter and Facebook. I'm at Kid Chef Eliana on Twitter and Eliana Cooks fan page on Facebook. Be sure to hit that like button. I like you, and I hope you like me too. If you are listening to the show on iTunes, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show. The more reviews we get, the more young chefs we can reach. And remember, my Parents' Choice Approved award-winning cookbook and the Latino Book Award winner, Cool Kids Cook Louisiana, and my newest cookbook, Cool Kids Cook Fresh and Fit, are available at any online book retailer. So, as you know, I have been staging at Commander's Palace, and it has just been such a great experience. I love going to work there every day and just doing all these different jobs there. Lately, I've been cutting tons of vegetables. I do that a lot. And usually when I come home, I smell like vegetables. Usually, if I'm cutting veggies, it's probably onions. And I come home smelling like onions. But it's okay because I still have a fun time while I'm doing it. But yes, I do a lot of onions there. But then I also do other things, such as roasting and shucking corn and shaving it, peeling shrimp and deveining shrimp, and I help with a lot of other things as well. But I actually got to make one of the family meals, which is really fun. So we do a family meal where we cook some, dishes for everyone to eat, everyone who works there, like all the kitchen staff and the servers and everyone there. So they usually have one in the morning for the people who work during the day shifts, and then they have another one for people who work the night shifts. So we had already had our family meal for the day shift, and we had some leftover like chicken, like lemon basil chicken, and then some like smoky, kind of a little like spicy chicken that was already cooked and everything. We had that left over, and then we also had like some cold pasta salad that we also had left over. And one of the sous chefs actually said, "Why don't you make the family meal since you know a lot and you could just make whatever you want." And so I was like, okay. He said, well, you can make whatever you want, but we have to use the leftover chicken. I said, okay. So I was just kind of thinking in my head, like, what could I make? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm actually going to be able to make the family meal. That's so exciting. So I finally thought, oh my gosh, it would be really great if I could just make a chicken piccata. I've made that so many times, and I love chicken piccata, and the lemon basil chicken is already, super lemony, and that's part of, chicken piccata it has to be super lemony. So I thought, okay, I'll just make chicken piccata. So when he asked what I was making, I told him. He said, great, that sounds awesome. So basically, I got to make the family meal, and they had other people who were helping me out. So I thought that was really cool. And it wasn't a traditional chicken piccata because normally they put capers in the chicken piccata, but I didn't put capers in this one. And also, when you make chicken piccata, you normally dredge the chicken and pan fry it, and then use the leftover like drippings and all the fond at the bottom and make a little like sauce kind of with that, and deglaze the pan with chicken stock and lemon juice to make a sort of sauce to go over the chicken. And normally it's served over like some kind of pasta. So since the chicken was already cooked, I didn't want to pan fry it and overcook it, so I kind of made a roux. And then after I made the roux, I added in some onions, and I sauteed the onions, and then I deglazed the pan with the chicken stock and the lemon juice, and then I just kind of let that thicken up. And then then I also added some salt and pepper to, make it taste good. And at the very end, I added the lemon basil chicken and the smoky chicken to the giant pot. And then I just kind of mixed that in, and it made it actually like a green color from all the basil and herbs, and it was so good. I added a little more salt and pepper to taste. Had to be tasty. And then I just let that cook, and then I tasted it, and it tasted really great. And then we also just redressed the pasta to make a cold pasta salad, and that tasted really great. And then I actually served the chicken piccata over rice, and that was just really good. So it all turned out awesome. So I made that for the night shift family meal, and everyone really loved it, and they ate it all. So I was really happy about that. So that was really fun. So I'm really glad I got to do that. And, I've been doing all kinds of other things as well, helping out with different projects here and there. And everything there is in bulk. So it's like doing a ton of things. But it's really fun to work there, and I love it there. So I can't wait to, just do all kinds of other projects. And I almost don't want it to end. Well, that's all for this week. I leave you with this quote from Og Mandino. Always do your best. What you plant now, you will harvest later. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Kid Chef Eliana with Cool Kids Cook. Bon appetit. I'll see you next week.